A few weeks ago, I decided to go on a little free library adventure around my town to check out the different little free libraries that there are and get rid of a couple of my books to share with the people in my neighborhood. Not only were there some amazing places in some really beautiful locations, but I visited the most jam packed and the craziest little free library that I had ever seen. So I'm going on a little free library tour. It is Florida in June, so it's really hot out. I have a huge bag of books that I have to take out of my house. So when I get it done, we're gonna see where some of these places are, and then we can always go back to them. Did not forget water. Hugely necessary. As I'm sure you just heard, a lot of the audio from this trip was in my car and it doesn't have the best sound. So I'm just gonna do a quick little voiceover of my first stop of the trip, which was this cute little blue house. They named their little free library Clover's Cat Catalog, which was just adorable. And there were some interesting books in here. I did not pick any up, but I did leave one of my smaller arcs. The next stop actually looked like it had two little free libraries in front of it. Picked two books for this one. But they were distinctly different. One was this big, beautiful one with two doors, and it had a ton of books in it. I didn't see any that I liked, but I was really surprised with the amount of books that were in this little free library. There was even a Wiccan book, which I thought was so cool. I didn't have the guts to pick it up, but looking back, I'm kind of regretting that decision. There was also a pretty good mixture of adult, YA, and children's books. Every single time I go to these little free libraries, the librarian in me just gets a little carried away. I try to fix up every little free library that I see, but of course, my energy starts to wane as this video goes on, as you will see. But I can't help myself, but just straightening the shelves, just a little bit. Pens too, that's so cute. Cute. So remember that I told you that it looked like there were two little free libraries on this property? Well, there were two little structures that said little free library on them, but one of them was completely empty. And I still wanted to give away two books. So I put both of my books in just the bigger, larger of the two little free libraries on the property. We're gonna put this one right in here with their little notebook, so cute. And I was on to the next stop. Little free library number 3. It looks so small. It's like super tiny. So I'm gonna put one of my tinier books in this one, I think. Super small book in there because it looks really, really small. And it was really small and very full too. Looking at some of these books in here, I was surprised that they all fit. Didn't see any that I liked or wanted to pick up, especially because a lot of the stuff didn't apply to me anymore. But I left my book hoping someone would enjoy it, and then I saw something horrifying. Several books had actually been water damaged, probably from our daily storms that we have here in Florida, but it was a true shame because I really wanted to pick up that Melinda Lowe book. Okay, this one also looks kind of small. You can see it right there behind me. So I'm going to take my last arc and put that in. I cannot get over how cute this little free library was. As a repurposed magazine holder, this was so adorable. But as I looked inside, I noticed something. Oh, this is mostly little kids' books. Okay, I actually think I'm gonna go back and get a book that's like maybe a little bit more for little kids. I tried to look at the details of the library on the app, and there are none. But there are mostly little kids books in there, and I think that this might be the perfect book to leave in the little free library because it's kind of like a little kids book. It's more like a little bit older, but it's got like fun pull-out stuff, so I feel like they would really like that. So I put a little Broadway book in their little free library and said goodbye to one of the cutest private little free libraries I had seen that day. Our next stop brought us to a little free library that looked like it had been there for a while. The lock had almost rusted shut, but there were so many books in this little free library. I'm just astounded. I can't tell if it's a good sign or a bad sign that we have so many little free libraries with so many books. And once again, we had a huge assortment of different genres and age groups. And of course, once again, my library skills kicked in, and it didn't dawn on me that there was a mode of danger here, but there were ants. I'm a Florida girl, honestly, so ants don't really scare me. Yeah, they're big and brown, but as long as they're not small and red, then it really doesn't matter to me.
Look like library books. Oh, we've got some ants. There we go.
Undeterred by ants, I continued to bravely attempt to straighten this little free library up as best I could. I hate to see books in shambles, especially when people are coming to visit them. So I did straighten up a little bit. I tried to put things in a better place. Eventually, I did notice that they had some ant traps, but it looked like it wasn't solving the entire issue. And eventually, I looked down and realized they were crawling all over my feet. So all I can say for this stop was that I survived.
Okay, so we only have one more left on this batch, and I'm getting hungry. I think I'm gonna go to this last one and then I'm gonna get something to eat. And there were ants in that one, unfortunately. But they wasn't that bad. They weren't like fire ants or anything, so that's the good news.
So the next stop was at a church, and at first I wasn't sure if I would really see anything I like or even have anything to give, but then I saw this sign and I knew I was in the right place.
I don't know what I'm gonna put for this one. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna do David McCullough. You can't go wrong.
Or at least I thought that was the case until I looked inside this thing. Y'all, they had so many books jam-packed inside this thing. I am not joking when I say that there were 2 stacks of books, one in the very back and then one actually in front of the other stack. They had double stacked the books. Additionally, there were 2 books by Bill Cosby and another crazy assortment of books on top of the fact that this thing had games, that they had left games inside this thing and DVDs for some reason. It just felt like it was taking up so much space on top of the fact that there were so many books just shoved into this pretty big little free library. Honestly, it was hard to look through the books. And also, I didn't know if David McCullough was going to fit in there.
My book in here, because this is a pretty hefty book. I was really expecting there to be a little bit more room.
I ended up just wiggling my hand in between 2 books to see if I could make a gap big enough to fit A Greater Journey in there. And it fit. But looking back on this, I just feel really bad. I kind of just want to sit there and go through those books and make it just a little bit nicer and easier to navigate. But this was my last stop on the first route that I had planned for myself, and I was getting hungry. So I just left the books the way that they were, even though I totally wish I could have sat there and gone through all of those books and just reorganized the whole thing. I hope somebody does in the future.
Okay, I'm losing some storage, and my device is very hot in this 94-degree weather. So I'm gonna speed run the last couple of places I have marked here, and then I'll catch up with you at the end.
Even though I didn't have time to talk about each of these little free libraries as I went up to them, I was just amazed at how beautiful the scenery was at these last few little free libraries. This next one was at this really beautiful and cute park for kids and dogs and the local neighborhood, and it was circus themed, which was honestly just amazing. And you can definitely tell that this one had been cared for and loved. So even though I put my book askew in this little free library, I know someone will probably come along and straighten it when I'm gone. This next stop was at the local radio station, which was honestly busier than I thought it was going to be. It had a lot more books than I thought it was going to have. But there's a couple of different apartment buildings nearby, so that's probably why it was so full. One of my favorite books of all time was in there, Lost in a Good Book by Jasper Fforde, and I did take a moment just to straighten just a tiny, teensy tiny little bit. So, for this next stop, and honestly, why I think I was able to check in at so many different libraries on this day, was that there were 3 or 4 little free libraries within this one big park in the center of this neighborhood. I didn't get footage of all 4 of the little free libraries around the park, but I was surprised to see that most of them were pretty full. And as I was compulsively straightening, I found this gem.
Wait a minute, what? Do you see this? Okay, I'm gonna have to take it. I think I'm gonna have to take it. Here's my final work. I cleaned it up a bit and left my Pablo Neruda. Just stopping in to say that this park is massive and there's a playground and there's not one for a little free library. There's 2. There's 2. So I'm actually gonna walk to the second one.
I ended up leaving 4 extra books just because there were extra libraries, and then I headed to the craziest little free library I had ever seen. So when I ended up looking at the details of this little free library, it said that it had been vandalized recently. And so there were signs everywhere that said it was being recorded and that there was 24-hour surveillance and don't vandalize. Honestly, this thing was like a general store. It had everything. It had games and puzzles for kids. It also had diapers and like donation places where people could get supplies. This was trying to be more than a little free library. I ended up leaving a book, but I didn't take a lot of time to look through them because I already felt a little awkward filming their little free library while they were filming me, and it just felt a little strange. But I understand why they took that precaution. There were a lot of supplies in there and things that people could just want to take or just destroy for other people. So I do understand why, but it definitely was still the craziest little free library that I had ever seen. My last 2 stops were really just one at this really amazing park. I cannot believe how cool this place was. It was right next to the water with this huge green lawn and 2 ibis statues that were actually a playground. I'm definitely coming back. Although walking up to the 2 little free libraries right next to each other seemed kind of weird, and when I looked in one of them, it looked like this. So you know what I had to do. And then that was my last stop. So I left my last 2 books, I picked up my kiddo, and I headed home.
Hi. It is the next day. There were some places I was like, I don't think I would come back to this place. Then there were several that I definitely want to return to. There was like 3 or 4 at one specific park. There were 2 at another park nearby, and then there was another little free library next to another playground. So I definitely will be going back to quite a few of the ones that I stopped at. I started out with 17 books and I am returning with 5. Actually, I'm lying. I'm lying about how many books I'm returning with. I started with 16 and I'm actually coming back with 6. 3 of them these were the ones that I had already owned that I just ended up deciding not to put into a little free library, either because I kind of figured that somebody I know would want to read these, maybe, or I feel confident that I have people in my life that are going to want to borrow or take one of these. Don't intend on keeping them, but I do think I know people who will take them. 3 of them I actually did pick up from little free libraries. The first is Speeding Bullet by Neil Shusterman. This is an old Neil Shusterman, which I've never seen before, so I was really excited to see it. Neil Shusterman, is that really him? I had to pick it up. I had to get it. And it's called Speeding Bullet, and I've never heard of it, and I'm so excited to read it. Then I have Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. I've heard mixed reviews about this book, and I don't know what drew me to pick it up. Probably because it's red, and I like red things. And then this one is actually I'm going to put on my shelf at school. It's the Theban Place by Sophocles, and it's a penguin edition. Oh, it's got annotations. Cool. I didn't even notice that it had annotations. That's pretty neat. Okay, so those are the books that I'm returning with, and that was my little pre-library adventure. Like I said, I had a good time. If I were to do it all again, I probably would stick to the ones at the parks, maybe go to some of the ones at the houses. But I hope that my books found a good home, and the little free libraries around my town can enjoy them. Thank you so much for watching. If you had a great time, subscribe for more. You know, who knows what we're gonna do. Right now it feels like I need to sleep, to be quite honest.